Abdullah Quilliam, born William Henry Quilliam, was a man of great intellect and determination, whose journey to becoming one of the most prominent Muslims in Victorian Britain is nothing short of remarkable. Before his historic conversion to Islam, Quilliam led a life steeped in the Victorian values of his time. Today we explore the early life of this influential figure and his path leading up to his conversion. Born on April the 10th, 1856, in Liverpool, Quilliam grew up in a devout Methodist family. His father, a watchmaker, and his mother, a pious woman, were active members of the local church, shaping young William's formative years. From an early age, Quilliam was known for his intelligence and curiosity. He attended the Liverpool Institute, where he excelled academically and earned several prizes for his studies. Quilliam's academic excellence led him to pursue law at the University of London, where he trained as a solicitor. He returned to Liverpool to establish his law practice, quickly earning a reputation for his skill in criminal defence and his dedication to social justice. Among his notable clients were those involved in high-profile criminal cases, including Irish nationalists fighting for independence from the British rule. Quilliam's life took a decisive turn in 1884. Struggling with health issues, he travelled to Morocco to recuperate. His time there was transformative. Immersed in a predominantly Muslim society for the first time in his life, Quilliam was deeply affected by the moral values and the way of life he encountered. He began to study Islam rigorously, exploring both its texts and teachings, and by the end of his stay, Quilliam made a life-changing decision. He embraced Islam. Upon returning to Liverpool, William Henry Quilliam was no longer the man he once was. He had adopted the name Abdullah and embraced the new faith. This conversion shocked Victorian society, but for Quilliam, it marked the beginning of a life dedicated to the promotion of Islam in Britain. His decision would set him on a path to becoming the first Sheikh al-Islam of the British Isles, establishing the country's first mosque and Muslim Institute. After converting to Islam, Abdullah Quilliam embarked on a transformative mission that left an indelible mark on the history of Islam in Britain. Upon returning from Liverpool, Quilliam publicly announced his conversion at the age of 31, becoming one of the most prominent Muslim figures in the Western world at the time. The Liverpool Institute and the Crescent newspaper had a profound impact on both the local Muslim community and the global Muslim world during the late Victorian era. Founded by Abdullah Quilliam after his conversion to Islam in 1887, the Liverpool Muslim Institute was Britain's first mosque and Islamic centre, located at 8 Brougham Terrace in Liverpool. This small mosque grew into a vibrant hub for the city's Muslim population and beyond, offering religious services, educational programs, and social support to Muslims and non-Muslims alike. By 1893, Quilliam began publishing The Crescent, a weekly newspaper that focused on Islamic teachings, news, and global Muslim affairs. The paper quickly gained a following beyond Liverpool, being distributed to over 20 countries. It provided a critical platform for spreading Islamic ideas and connecting British Muslims to the broader global Islamic community. Alongside The Crescent, Quilliam also published a monthly journal, The Islamic World, which further expanded his reach and influence, fostering a sense of unity among Muslims across different regions. The institute itself played a pioneering role in community building. It offered evening classes in various subjects, established schools for boys and girls, and developed a library, museum, and science laboratory, making it a centre for both religious and secular education. Its inclusive approach, welcoming both Muslims and non-Muslims, fostered cross-cultural understandings at a time when Islam was largely misunderstood in Britain. Quilliam's mosque and institute also provided essential services to the Muslim community, including care for the sick, legal support, and funeral arrangements. The legacy of the Liverpool Muslim Institute is significant. It laid the foundation for the growth of Islam in Britain, contributing to a burgeoning sense of Muslim identity in a country where Islam was still unfamiliar and misunderstood. Despite its decline following Quilliam's departure in 1908, the spirit of the institute lived on. The Abdullah Quilliam Society, established in the 1990s, has worked to preserve this history, restoring the original mosque and turning it into a heritage centre that continues to celebrate Quilliam's contributions to British Islam. Quilliam's efforts in establishing Islam in Britain gained the attention of global Muslim leaders. He successfully campaigned against a derogatory play about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, leading to international recognition. In 1891, he was invited to the Ottoman Empire by Sultan Abdul Hamid II, who honoured him with the title Sheikh al-Islam of the British Isles. This was a significant title, making Quilliam a key Islamic representative in the West. He later represented the Sultan in various capacities, including the opening of a mosque in Nigeria. Abdullah Quilliam's involvement in a controversial divorce case led to significant consequences that impacted his career and reputation. Quilliam, acting as a solicitor in this case, was accused of misconduct involving perjury. The case revolved around Martha May and Enoch Griffiths Thompson, with Quilliam reportedly facilitating a situation where a man was encouraged to induce the husband to commit adultery. The court later determined that Quilliam knowingly presented a false case, resulting in legal repercussions. This incident played a major role in Quilliam's sudden departure from Britain in 1908. As he faced potential charges of perjury, the scandal not only ended his legal career, but also strained his public image as a religious leader. Seeking refuge, Quilliam relocated to Istanbul, where he remained for several years. Despite this setback, he maintained a degree of influence within the Muslim world and continued his religious activities. However, the loss of his legal standing marked a sharp decline in his prominence in the British public life. Despite his significant achievements, Quilliam's work was met with fierce opposition from the Victorian British society. British Muslims faced constant harassment, with mosques often being attacked by mobs. Quilliam himself became a target, with his views on British imperialism and his defence of Muslim sovereignty making him a controversial figure. This hostility only intensified as Britain expanded its colonial reach into Muslim territories like Afghanistan and Sudan. Quilliam's public defence of the Ottoman Empire and his opposition to British colonialism in Muslim lands further estranged him from both the British and political circles. He issued fatwas urging Muslims to refrain from fighting for British forces against fellow Muslims in Sudan and other colonized territories. His advocacy for Muslim unity often put him at odds with the British establishment, which at the time was increasingly antagonistic towards the Ottoman Empire. By 1914, he'd returned to the UK, quietly adopting the name H.M. Lyon, and spending much of his time on the Isle of Man and London, where he contributed to the Woking Mosque, one of the most important Islamic centres in the UK during that period. Despite fading from public view, Quilliam maintained his deep connection to Islam. He continued his religious advocacy, writing and lecturing, though on a much smaller scale. His international influence still resonated with Muslims abroad, as he was remembered as a symbol of British Muslim identity and solidarity with the Ottoman Empire. Quilliam died in 1932 in London, and although his death did not attract significant public attention, his legacy was far from forgotten. He was buried in Brookwood Cemetery near Woking in an unmarked grave, alongside notable figures like Abdullah Yusuf Ali and Marmaduke Pickthall. His burial in the vicinity of prominent Anglo-Muslims reflects his enduring influence within the British Muslim community. Following his death, the mosque and the Liverpool Muslim Institute he had established fell into disrepair. The building was sold and later used for other purposes, including as a register office where John Lennon famously married his first wife Cynthia. In the late 20th century, there was a revival of interest in Quilliam's legacy. In 1999, the Abdullah Quilliam Society was formed to preserve his contributions and restore the mosque at 8 Brougham Terrace. This project has been ongoing, with efforts to transform the building into a museum and heritage centre that honours his pioneering work. Quilliam's influence lives on, particularly through his efforts in establishing the first mosque in Britain and fostering an early Muslim community in Liverpool. He converted hundreds to Islam and stood as a bridge between Britain and the wider Muslim world. Today, the Abdullah Quilliam Society and other initiatives continue to raise his profile, acknowledging his role in British Islamic history and preserving his legacy for future generations.